For listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Michelle, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the January 25th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Cover story: When dinners is more than a meal. Experiential dining is becoming more popular. Here's what it looks like in Buffalo by Francesca Bond. On a recent evening of Cornelia, the restaurant inside the Buffalo AKG Art Museum, the actor Stanley Tucci asked an important question. All eyes in the restaurant watched Tucci's face on the television. All seats faced the TV. Tucci turned to the actress Meryl Streep, who had just forked some food into her mouth. "What is it that you really like to do?" he said. "Eat," Streep replied. The restaurant breathed its first big laugh of the evening. If anyone could relate to that, it's someone who chose to spend their Saturday night and about $125 at a 9-course dinner with wine pairings timed to the foodie movie Julie and Julia. Throughout the night, Cornelia's staff served course after course of food as it was referenced in the movie. As lobster appeared on the TV, a crock of indulgent lobster thermidor with big chunks of lobster meat swimming in a thick and savory cream slid onto my table. During the movie's climax, which hinges on a failed beef bourguignon, diners ate bowls of successful tender beef bourguignon. The event was like something a kid had dreamed up, imagining a world in which the food from a movie materializes in front of you. Julie and Julia was the first movie in Cornelia's new dinner and movie series. Up next is The 5-Year Engagement, February 28th, The Menu, March 19th, and Ratatouille, April 9th. It was dinner as experience, and it's becoming more popular. Demand for immersive dining experiences where dinner is an event itself is growing, according to recent trends data from Yelp. On OpenTable's 2026 Dining Trends report, which it compiles based on a mix of restaurant bookings data, consumer surveys, and search keywords, OpenTable predicted an increase in experiential dining. The company reported that 37% of Americans want to see more experiential dining this year, while 48% are more likely to eat at a restaurant holding a pop-up, collaborative, or special experience. It's the philosophy behind Dinner Club at Black Iron Bistro, a nimble fixed menu restaurant in Kenmore. When you walk into the restaurant for dinner, you feel a little bit as if you've walked into a movie theater. The interior is dark and plush, or maybe the board game Clue. The other dinner guests arrive at around the same time as you, and the feeling before dinner begins is a mysterious anticipation. You don't know what you're going to eat until it comes out. Chef owner Brian McCosey and his small staff serve a 4-course meal and beverage pairings over the course of the evening. If a guest has any dietary restrictions, then they let the restaurant know when booking. Reservations are required. Otherwise, the meal is subject to McCosey's poetic license. On a recent evening, dinner included addictive tempura fried cauliflower over velvety parsnip puree, a kaleidoscopic bowl of beef salad with neon green parsley oil, house-made gnocchis in a short rib curry sauce, and a scoop of hibiscus basil ice cream, each paired with a glass of wine or a cocktail. Black Iron Bistro servers were chatty about the food and drinks. They were curious to hear the thoughts and opinions of their guests. It felt like being back in college, dissecting material for meaning in a pleasant way. Makozy's staff alters their inquisitiveness based on the vibes of the guests. Some naturally just want to eat dinner, but the option is there. Should you take it to treat your food like a performance? To understand the ingredients is like lyrics, or appreciate the presentation like a set. Makozy describes the process of building his menu like he's selecting the songs to play at a concert. It always starts with one thing, one item, one dish, one beverage, something, and then I work forwards and backwards to build the set, so to speak. And then we have a set list, and then we put the show on, Makozy said. The show is basically that flow of those dishes and beverages. Multi-course tasting menus such as the one served by Cornelia in Black Iron Bistro are also a fixture of other local restaurants. Los Puertos on the west side changes its menu every 5 weeks, and the multi-course fixed menu dinner comes with personal anecdotes shared by chef owner Victor Parra Gonzalez. Waxlight Bar and Vin in Black Rock offers a tasting menu once a month. The meal includes 6 to 7 seasonally inspired dishes that aren't on their regular menu, and optional beverage pairings. The next dinner is January 29th. The most notable recent addition to Buffalo's Dinner as Experience category is Labyrinth, a cocktail bar meets dinner club that specializes in themed pre-dinner tasting experiences. Labyrinth opened in Allentown in November. Founders Bethany Hallbright and Cameron Sinclair had no intention of opening a cocktail bar that was just a bar. Their space is more of an experiment or community center. They ultimately want to heal social isolation and foster creativity, which they see as being endangered by our growing reliance on technology and artificial intelligence. I do think this doing in a bar setting allows adults to actually tap into their joyful creativity before we give it all up to technology. The appeal of dinner as experience differs for everyone. Maybe, as Labyrinth suggests, you're trying to stave off brain rot. Maybe you're looking for something fun and different, as Buffalo AKG chef Jessica Arends described the draw of her dinner and a movie series. Maybe you're just hungry. Going out to dinner has always been an event of sorts, a chance to dress up, be around strangers, and enjoy the sensational experience of eating good food, but it's asking to be just a bit more than that. Something to watch, contemplate, and discuss, a show you can taste and savor, or just dinner. That's more than enough. Television, Skin Deep. Ashton Kutcher explores the pursuit of perfection in new series Beauty by Bruce Miller. Actors appearing in Ryan Murphy productions, everything from American Horror Story to Monster, know they're going to be asked to do 2 things they never considered. I got a heads up in the character I was playing, and every time you get a screenplay, you're going, "What is this?" Ashton Kutcher says. There were a couple of times I turned to my wife and said, "I have to normalize this. I have to justify this. I have to get to the point where I can approach this and not be afraid of it." In the new limited series, The Beauty, Kutcher plays a tech billionaire who's behind a sexually transmitted disease that makes those infected physically beautiful. There are side effects, however, and the cavalcade of characters gets to see how it all works. Jeremy Pope, who plays an overweight man intrigued with the results, got one of those Ryan requests. "I know what I'm doing, a Ryan project. I'm going to be asked to do some unimaginable things," Pope says. Likewise, Rebecca Hall, who plays an FBI agent investigating the case with her partner, played by Evan Peters. When he described the situation of a supermodel walking down the runway and then ending in an explosion, I thought that was the most delightfully preposterous and funny thing I'd ever heard of, Hall says. I couldn't imagine who was not going to watch it. Peters, who starred in Murphy's Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, knew those early discussions would be just enough to get you to sign on. And then there's more, like speaking in several languages. Peter does so in The Beauty and pulls it off, even though he learned enough just to look believable. I could speak a little French, but I'd have trouble saying that to a French-speaking individual, Peter says. Anthony Ramos, who plays a character called the Assassin, has to wear an eye patch that had to be glued on his face. I do have one scene without any of the sticky stuff on it, and it was dicey, Ramos says. We had to shoot it a couple of times because it kept falling out. Pope's surprised, fighting in the nude. Fighting in the nude is pretty wild, he says, because The Beauty has plenty to say about the desire for perfection, and the lengths actors, models, and others will go to achieve it. There were plenty of discussions about those demands. What the show is trying to say is individuality, and the thing that makes you unique should be celebrated and amplified, Peters says. That's a theme in a lot of Ryan Murphy shows. It's empowering. Kutcher, who was a model before hitting with the 70s show, knows how producers and agents can focus on looks. I remember modeling when I was 19 or 20 and going in the room and going, there's nothing I could have done. They just don't like the way I look. But in the entertainment industry, there are other variables at play, Kutcher says. Auditioning for a movie part is more difficult, Kutcher says, because it's a mental warfare you have to play with yourself. Did I not let the role because aesthetically I don't look like the character that the director envisions? Or did I not get the role because they don't like my performance? Sometimes you don't get any feedback whatsoever, and you start questioning if it was your performance, and you start developing insecurity. One thing you can't bring to the table as a performer is insecurity, he says. Kushner struts throughout The Beauty and shows the side of the 1% that's troubling. Hall's and Peter's characters move in on the operation he's running and discover what's behind it. The pursuit of beauty isn't new, Hall insists. You go all the way back to Greek myths, and there are a lot of stories that look at the subject. Body horror pictures such as David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers and The Fly predate The Substance, a recent example. It's addictive, Hall says. The Beauty features plenty of shocking scenes, ones you might not expect. When you're doing it, it's not creepy, Hall says, but when I watch it on screen, it looks creepy. Television. TV show about NYPD, now a legal drama with Dr. Phil's son. A reality TV series meant to spotlight the New York Police Department has spawned a real-life legal drama involving the city and the show's producer, Jordan McGraw, the son of TV's Dr. Phil McGraw. The city sued the younger McGraw and his production company last week for breach of contract and obtained a court order that blocks them, at least temporarily, from selling or disseminating any footage from the unfinished and unaired show, tentatively titled Behind the Badge. Dr. Phil McGraw, a clinical psychologist turned TV personality, hosted the series, interviewing officials and showing up to crime scenes. Episodes were slated to air on his Merit TV cable and streaming channels, where he's previously done segments featuring the police department. On Thursday, McGraw's lawyers filed to move the case from New York State Court to federal court. The city abandoned Behind the Badge late last year. Hours before then, Mayor Eric Adams ceded City Hall to Zohran Mandani after saying that it expressed concerns to McGraw about the documentary-style show's quality and content. Episode rough cuts provided to the city by McGraw's company, McGraw Media, were mostly unedited footage dumps and included material not allowed under McGraw's production agreement with the city, such as discussions of sensitive operations and the identities of undercover officers, crime victims, and witnesses, the lawsuit said. Intended to highlight the extraordinary work of the NYPD with special behind-the-scenes access, Behind the Badge at times portrayed the nation's largest police force negatively, violating the agreement, the lawsuit said. Jordan McGraw and McGraw Media have since disavowed their obligations and attempted to wrest editorial control over the project from the city, risking immediate and irreparable harm to the city, the lawsuit said. Chip Badcock, a lawyer for Jordan McGraw and McGraw Media, said the lawsuit came as a surprise, as publication of any programming was not imminent. McGraw Media, he said, had worked with the city to address the edits requested and is willing to continue to do so. The company will seek to remove the court order as soon as possible, Babcock said, calling it a presumably unconstitutional prior restraint. New York City partnered with McGraw Media on Behind the Badge last April, inking a 3-year contract a day after a federal judge dismissed federal corruption charges against Adams. The case went away in part because the Justice Department had wanted the mayor's help with President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Last week, WNBC TV reported that Adams' campaign paid $500,000 for another Jordan McGraw company, Fairfax Digital, to produce social media ads. Adams defended Jordan McGraw's work on Behind the Badge, writing in a social media post on Wednesday that he brought exceptional talent in revealing the inside story of the dangers NYPD officers face every day. He and his team meticulously addressed every concern raised by City Hall, Adams wrote. I'm proud that the work they did tells the real story of our brave police officers. Heroes don't wear capes, they wear blue uniforms. I understand that. I hope America will get to see that too. Dr. Phil McGraw, who hosted a Behind the Badge segment on his daytime talk show, made waves last year when he and camera crew embedded with U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement agents for raids in Chicago and L.A. The Behind the Badge contract, a 5-page production agreement signed by Jordan McGraw and Adams' Chief of Staff, Camille Joseph Varlick, called for McGraw Media to produce up to 17 episodes per year, but gave the city the right to opt out by December 31st, 2025, the last day of Adams' term. On that date, Varlick told McGraw in a letter that the city was no longer able to fulfill its obligations to the project. She outlined concerns with the production process, including shoddy editing and the inclusion of content that the city had found objectionable in rough cuts. Under the production agreement, the city reserved the right to nix what it deemed non-usable content, including inaccurate or confidential material, footage that revealed investigative techniques, and anything that could compromise public safety or public trust. Among other things, the lawsuit said the show contained footage of an officer inputting a security code at a police station entrance, discussions of encrypted police communications, and the unblurred faces of people who were arrested by police but who have not yet been tried or convicted of crimes. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the January 25th Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Movies. Sinners shines. Ryan Coogler film makes history, setting Oscars record by Jake Coyle. Ryan Coogler's blues-steeped vampire epic Sinners led all films with 16 nominations to the 98th Academy Awards on Thursday, setting a record for the most in Oscar history. Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science voters showed Sinners with more nominations than they ever had bestowed before, breaking the 14 nomination mark set by All About Eve, Titanic, and La La Land. Along with Best Picture, Coogler was nominated for Best Director and Best Screenplay, and double duty star Michael Jordan was awarded for his first Oscar nomination for lead actor. Paul Thomas Anderson's father-daughter revolutionary saga One Battle After Another, The Favorite, coming into nominations trailing in second with 13 of its own. 4 of its actors, Leonardo DiCaprio, Teyana Taylor, Benicio del Toro, and Sean Penn, were nominated, though newcomer Chase Infinity was left out in lead actress. In those 2 top nominees, the Film Academy put its full force behind a pair of visceral, embracingly original American epics that each connected with a fraught national moment. Coogler's Jim Crow era film, a rare horror movie to win the Academy favor, conjures a mythical allegory of black life. In One Battle After Another, a dormant spirit of rebellion is revived in an out-of-control police state. Both are Warner Brother titles, and in the midst of a contentious sale to Netflix, the 108-year-old studio had one of its best Oscar nominations. As the fate of Warner Brothers, which Netflix is buying for $72 billion, hangs in the balance amid a challenge from Paramount's Skydance, Hollywood is bracing for potentially the largest realignment in the film industry's history. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, Josh Safran's Marty Supreme, and Joachim Tyler's Sentiment Value all scored 9 nominations. The 9 for Marty Supreme included the 3rd Best Actor nod for 30-year-old Timothy Chalamet, and The Favorite in the category he narrowly missed winning last year for A Complete Unknown, with Jordan and Chalamet nominees are DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. Nominated for Best Actress was the category favorite Jessie Buckley from Hamnet, along with Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson, Song Sung Blue, Raina Reinsman, Sentimental Value, and 2-time winner Emma Stone, who landed her 6th nomination for Begonia. K-pop leads Field Light on Big Hits, the year's most watched movie with more than 500 million views on Netflix. K-pop Demon Hunters scored nominations for both Best Song, Golden, and Best Nominated Feature. Sony Pictures developed and produced the film, but after selling it to Netflix, watched it become a worldwide sensation. Blockbusters otherwise had a difficult morning. Universal Studios' Wicked for Good was shut out entirely, while Avatar, Fire and Ash notched nominations for costume design and visual effects. It became the first Avatar film not nominated for Best Picture. The biggest box office hit nominated for Hollywood's top award instead was F1, an Apple production that landed 4 nominations. This year, the Oscars introduced a new category for casting. That new honor helped Sinners and The One Battle After Another pad their already impressive stats. Other nominees are Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and The Secret Agent. An international shift continues. The Academy, which expanded its overseas membership in recent years, also continued to tilt toward international films. Every category included 1 international nominee for the 8th year in a row. A non-English language film was nominated for Best Picture. More non-English performances were nominated than ever before. The top nominee for them all was Joachim Trier's Norwegian family drama, Sentimental Value. It cleaned up in the supporting actor categories with nods for Stellar Skarsgård, Inga Idsdatter, Lilias, and Ellie Fanning. A competitive Best International Feature category mirrored the turbulent state of the world. That included the Iranian revenge drama and Palme d'Or winner It was just an accident by the often imprisoned filmmaker Jafar Panahi. Also nominated, the Tunisian entry The Voice of Hind Rahab, the Brazilian political thriller The Secret Agent, the apocalyptic Spanish road movie Surat, and Sentimental Value. Snubs and surprises. Surprise F1, Best Picture. Snub 2, Wicked, for Good, the Best Picture. Surprise, Joachim Trier, Sentimental Value, Director. Kate Hudson in Song Sung Blue. Leonardo DiCaprio, Frankenstein, Director. Surprise, Kate Hudson, Song Sung Blue, for Lead Actress. Snub, Amanda Seyfried, The Testament of Anne Lee. Surprise, Delroy Lindo, Sinners, Supporting Actor. Snub, Paul Mescal from Hamnet. Surprise, Ella Fanning from Sentimental Value for Supporting Actress. Snub, Odessa Zion from Marty Supreme for Supporting Actress. Things to do. Thursday Night Terror's Turbulence, BPO plays Journey by Tony Roberto. When Peter Vello put together the inaugural season of his Thursday Night Terrors film series, the plan was to schedule a few horror films and see how it goes. A decade later, it's going strong with repeated sellouts and a die-hard group of fans who have become known as the Terrors Crew. Back in 2016, I would never have imagined this, Vello said, reflecting on the unexpected longevity of Terrors and the community it built before the start of a new season on January 29th. The intention was to play movies on the big screen. The community grew organically. It was a surprise. The people who came to Terrors each month have become my friends. There isn't Terrors without them. Since the first movie was shown in August 2016, Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, Terrors has grown to host 2 series each year that show a retro horror movie a month from January through May and August through December. It has expanded to include a summer series at the Transit Drive-In in Lockport and the occasional new release Terrors, which screens a new horror film for one night, such as the Toxic Avenger reboot last summer. For Thursday Night Terrors, each movie is shown at 7:30 and 9:45 in the Dibson Amherst Theater. Filomena, an Italian giallo film from one of the Vello's favorite filmmakers, Dario Argento, starts the next season January 29th. Jennifer Connelly stars as a young woman who can communicate with insects. The rest of the season is as follows. February 26th, The Wrath from 1986. March 26th, The Critters from 1986. April 30th, Freeway 1996. And May 28th, Motel Hell from 1980. Each screen has vendors in the lobby, including Dead End Toys, a fixture since the second screening of DJ Billy Page spins tunes and sings inside the theater, then leads sound effects to Vello's entertaining film intros. Donations are also taken for Feed More Western New York, with 1,500 pounds of food donated in the past 6 months. It's only right that the Terrors community helps the greater Buffalo community, Vello said. Millie Chen's Turbulence continues through March 14th at Buffalo Arts Studio Tri-Main Center. Dinner with a Ghost continues 6 p.m. Tuesday at the West End Inn, Union Street, Hamburg. The Music of Journey, 7:30 Friday, Kleinhans Music Hall. Saturday Sessions, 4 to 7 p.m. Saturday at Buffalo Distilling Company, Seneca Street. The Improv Revolution, 8 p.m. Saturday, The Screening Room, Cinema Cafe, Alberta Drive. Quick calendar notes. The Jetstone Conspiracy, 8 p.m. Monday in the Ninth Ward at Babeville. The Piano Men, 6 to 9, Tuesday, the Pierce Arrow Bar and Grill, Hamburg. Jerry Seinfeld, 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. Saturday in Shea's Buffalo Theater, Main Street. Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, presented by Music Fair Theater from Friday through February 15th, Shea's Smith Theater. Fleetwood Mac Mania, 7:30 Friday and Saturday at the Western Riviera Theater. D.L. Hughley, Friday through February 1st at the Helam Comedy Club, Mississippi Street. Riviera Theater. Heat of Rock and Roll, coming July 31st. Queen Nation, coming August 28th, 29th, and 30th. Currently on sale now. George Michael, Reborn, February 7th. Close to You, Music of the Carpenters, February 13th. Wizard of Oz on Ice, February 14th. Peter Jamming, Tribute to Pearl Jam, February 27th. Outlaw State of Mind, March 6th. The Celtic Tenors, March 16th. Sticky Sweet, Tribute to Def Leppard, March 27th. Just Like Pink, March 28th. Strangelove, April 4th. The McCartney Experience, April 11th. Simply the Best, Tribute to Tina Turner, April 17th. Mutt's Gone Nuts, May 3rd. Love Sexy, a tribute to the Prince, music of Prince, May 8th. You are listening to reading of articles features from the January 25th issue of the Sunday Gusto. Books. The Pain and Joy of Griffith's Writing Journey. Rachel Eliza Griffiths is releasing her memoir, The Flower Bearers, after enduring profound personal tragedies, by Hailey Atelier. After her best friend died on the day Rachel Eliza Griffiths married Solomon Rushdie, and her husband was nearly stabbed to death a year later, the author and multimedia artist was left with no choice over what she would write about next. I think there was a struggle when I tried not to put it into words, when I tried to avoid it, when I thought, all of these life events have happened to me, but now I'm going to think about my next novel and my next collection of poetry, says Griffiths, whose memoir, The Flower Bearers, was released Tuesday. She ultimately conceded, you cannot pass through these kinds of personal life events and ask your brain and your being to go back to who you were, because you're not the same. The Flower Bearers comes out nearly 2 years after Knife, Rushdie's account of the 2022 assault that hospitalized him and blinded him in one eye. Griffith's book is framed around Rushdie and her close bond with poet Camilla Isha Moon, whose death is ever intertwined with her wedding, an uncanny Janus coin. As she writes in The Flower Bearers, Griffiths and Rushdie met at a PEN American event in May 2017, a relationship sealed out of mishap that seems comic compared to what happened later. As they were stepping out onto a terrace, Rushdie banged into a plate glass door and fell, bleeding. He was embarrassed and in pain and wanted to leave. She offered to ride home with him and ice the wounds on his head and nose. We talked and laughed for hours, she wrote. She well knew Rushdie's history, the 1989 fatwa from Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini that called for the author's death because of the alleged blasphemy of his novel, The Satan Verses. But she and Rushdie thought his days of fearing for his life were well behind him. until August 12, 2022. She was alone in her living room drinking coffee when a friend called and told her that Rushby had been hurt. Rushby was preparing to deliver a lecture at the Chautauqua Institute in Western New York when a man rushed to the stage and stabbed him repeatedly. "Please don't take him away from me yet," Griffith remembers thinking. "Please don't let Solomon die." A prize-winning poet, novelist, photographer, and filmmaker, the 47-year-old Griffith is a graduate from the creative writing program at Sarah Lawrence College, where Moon was a fellow student. Before Griffith met Rushby or Moon, she had endured grief and trauma and the fear of a loved one being in peril. Her beloved mother had suffered from poor health since Griffith was a girl and died in 2014 at the age of 59. Griffith is also a survivor of sexual violence who has struggled with mental health issues and says she deals with PTSD on a daily basis. Books. The suspense continues. Laura Dave's sequel to The Last Thing He Told Me reveals, by Alicia Ranchillo. The First Time I Saw Him, a novel by Laura Dave. Those who read The Last Thing He Told Me and wondered what had happened next for the characters will get their wish. Writer Laura Dave penned its sequel, The First Time I Saw Him, out now. A second season of the TV adaptation starring Jennifer Garner and Anjali Rice debuts on Apple TV next month. After the book came out, I started getting so many questions, people saying, "Well, what happens next?" I had really imagined it as a standalone book, but I was surprised that I had an answer to what happened, Dave said. Laura Dave. The Last Thing He Told Me follows Hannah Hall, who has recently married Owen, a widowed man with a teen daughter named Bailey, who's less than thrilled by this addition to their family. One day Owen disappears and leaves a note instructing Hannah to protect Bailey. The two are left to figure out what happened next. What happens? The book spent 65 weeks as a New York Times bestseller. It was chosen by Reese Witherspoon for the Reese's Book Club. The First Time I Saw Him picks up after the events of The Last Thing He Told Me, but also fleshes out details from the past. Streaming television. Dwayne Johnson transformed into MMA pioneer Mike Kerr for The Smashing Machine, a surprising gentle drama about winning addiction and self-worth, which debuts January 23rd on HBO Max. HBO Max also has Judd Apatow's Mel Brooks, the 99-year-old man, which arrives on January 22nd. The Bruce Springsteen biopic Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere also made its streaming debut on Hulu and Disney Plus on January 23rd. A few other film festival gems have come to more streaming too. The documentary Mr. Nobody Against Putin, a 2025 Sundance selection about a Russian teacher who secretly documents his classroom's transformation into a military recruitment center during the invasion of Ukraine, is streaming on Kino Film. Also, a movie has Paolo Sorrentino's La Grazia. Star Tony Seville won the Best Actor prize at Venice for his turn as the fictional Italian president. American thrash metal giants Megadeth announced they were going out with a bang. They'll soon embark on a farewell tour, but on January 23rd, they released their final album. Perhaps best known as a candid and cool force in the gargantuan boy band One Direction, the Englishman Louis Tomlinson released its third solo album on January 23rd, the existential How Did get here. His work usually pulls from his most direct influences. The great Lucinda Williams returned January 23rd with a new one titled What's Gone Wrong? Series. FX new series co-created by Ryan Murphy tackles beauty standards with some horror mixed in. The Beauty features an all-star cast including Evan Peters, Ashton Kutcher, Rebecca Hall, Jeremy Pope, Anthony Ramos, and Isabella Rossellini. Drops of God also returned January 21st to Apple TV for its second season. It's about two estranged siblings competing to inherit their late father's estate that comes with a massive wine collection. In season 2, they must search for the source of an unlabeled bottle of wine believed to be the best in the world. On the heels of the Heatle rivalry phenomenon, Netflix has its own love story to heat up the ice that premiered on January 22nd, where heated rivalry is based on a steamy romance book series. Finding Her Edge is adapted from YA novel. It's about a figure skater training for the World Championship who finds herself in a love triangle with her current and former skating partners. Scott Foley and Aaron Hayes star in a new faith-based family drama called It's Not Like That, now playing on Prime Video. Foley plays Malcolm, a pastor and father of 3 whose wife recently died, and Hayes is Lori, a divorced mother of teenagers. Their families were always close, but Malcolm and Lori find themselves relying on each other more and more as they navigate being single parents. Taste. Forno e Mercato brings Italian favorites to Amherst. We will never know what heaven looks like, but it isn't a stretch to imagine it full of pizza, gelato, and cookies. So maybe heaven is a lot like Forno e Mercato. From the team behind Frankie Primo's Plus 39 and Forno e Gelato, the new Forno e Mercato is an Italian fast casual lunch spot, bakery, and small market. It's located inside the former Walters Bakery in Georgetown Square, Sheridan Drive, Amherst. As you enter the wide space, you're faced with a counter offering no bad options. Grab your foods to go or take them into an adjacent dining room where black and white photos of Italy cover the walls and soccer streams on the mounted TV. Plenty of tables were open on a recent weekday afternoon, save for the table where 2 women ate lunch and discussed the characters in their favorite TV shows. Most customers take their food to go, deli style. The long counter stretches from gelato to pastries to pizza to checkout. Then there's a small market section where you can buy imported Italian goods such as pasta, wafers, and soda. Beginning with the homemade gelato, there are 15 flavors including pistachio, salted caramel, orange chocolate, and mint chocolate chip. In between dry pastries and gelato, you'll find the cool and creamy tiramisu, which comes in a portable plastic claw container. In pastry case, there's every Italian cookie you remember from Christmas, and they're all made in-house, from the melt-in-your-mouth Italian wedding cake shortbreads to sesame seed-coated gigliolini and the festive rainbow-sprinkled guccitati. Frosted almond rings pay homage to the space's previous tenant, Walters. Outside the pastry cases are 3 more sweets, cream horns, danishes, and Pop-Tart reminiscent glazed pastry squares stuffed with the cottage, cherry, almond, or apple filling. For lunch, choose between either a hearty sandwich or a slice of lighter pizza. Forno or Mercato's pinza is a light kind of flatbread pizza with crispy leopard-spotted focaccia-like crust. The various toppings include a plain tomato pizza, a pizza shining with moist burrata cheese, pesto and salty thin mortadella, and a breakfast pizza with Italian sausage, egg, and cheese. Sandwiches are served on fresh bread, plain, seeded, garlic, or ciabatta, baked in the kitchen. They're layered with combinations of Italian deli meats like prosciutto, mortadella, and capicola, and Italian cheeses along with vegetables such as sun-dried tomatoes, roasted banana peppers, and sauces like pesto and balsamic. A vegetarian caprese includes tomato, basil, pesto, burrata, and balsamic. In the morning, order an Italian breakfast sandwich with egg, provolone, and capicola on a brioche roll. Forno Mercata is the fourth restaurant in J. Mano's Plus 39 restaurant family. Fans of Mano's restaurants can wear their support by buying a soccer jersey printed with the restaurant's branding. Within Forno Mercata's market section, there's more Plus 39 branded items to come, including a Plus 39 Italian Pilsner brewed by Community Beer Works and a line of Plus 39 wines from Pelicano's Vineyard. Mano also hopes to one day sell his gelato in local supermarkets. It's a sense of pride, Mano said. I have children, I have grandchildren. I don't know if any of them are going to be in the business, but if they love it and they're good at it, hopefully I set them up for success. Forno Mercato is open from 9 to 6 Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 3 Sunday, and is closed Monday. Restaurant news. The Soup Lady, a North Tonawanda diner known for its homemade soups, is closing after 11 years in February because of significant rent increase. Owner Barb Gushaw is reluctant to close, telling the news, "I'm not ready to quit yet." News photojournalist Libby March documented life at the Soup Lady. Check out her photo gallery and mini documentary at buffalonews.com. To help farmers sell their leftover crops and to feed people who struggle with food insecurities, the Department of Agriculture is buying $20 million worth of excess grape juice. Food events. Ration Ales, Main Street, Williamsville, is hosting a 5-course beer pairing dinner at 6 p.m. January 29th. The restaurant will pair 5 dishes with 10-ounce beers from Other Half Brewing Company. Soup Fest returns from noon to 4, January 31st at the Terrace on Delaware Park, Lincoln Parkway. Sample soups, chowder, chili, gumbo from 12 local restaurants, and vote for your favorite. Tickets cost $35 and can be bought for timed entry at either noon or 2. Luscious Layers. The kitchen. Banana pudding is the ultimate no-bake, make-ahead dessert. Some people love cake, others prefer pie. But I'm a pudding person, though, through and through. Banana pudding is hands down my absolute favorite. The creamy pudding, sliced fresh bananas, and softened vanilla wafers come together to create something truly magical. This banana pudding is inspired by one of my favorites from Magnolia Bakery. Ingredients is 2 cups of cold milk or 2%, 2 boxes of instant vanilla pudding, 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, pinch of kosher salt, 2 cups of heavy cream, teaspoon of vanilla bean paste or vanilla extract, 1 tablespoon of powdered sugar, 4 large barely ripe bananas, and 1 11-ounce box of vanilla wafers, cookies. Place milk and instant pudding in the bowl. Beat with electric hand mixer on medium speed until completely smooth, about 15 seconds. Blend in the medium speed until smooth. Press a sheet of plastic wrap directly onto the surface of the pudding. Refrigerate till the pudding is firm, at least 1 hour. Once the pudding is set, make the whipped cream. Place heavy cream in a large bowl. Beat with electric hand mixer on medium speed, scraping the sides and bottom of the bowl about halfway through with flexible spatula until stiff peaks form, about 3 minutes. Remove the pudding from the refrigerator and stir to loosen. Add 2/3 of the whipped cream, about 2½ cups, and gently fold together with a flexible spatula until no streaks remain. Add vanilla and powdered sugar to the remaining whipped cream and gently fold to combine. Cover and refrigerate until ready to use. Peel bananas and cut crosswise into 1/4 inch thick slices, about 4 cups. Set aside 5 vanilla wafer cookies from the box for the topping. Spread 1/4 of the pudding, about the remaining vanilla wafers, layer on top, followed by the banana slices. Repeat layering the pudding, the vanilla wafers, and the banana slices 2 more times. Top with the remaining pudding. Dollop the whipped cream over the top and spread into an even layer. Cover and refrigerate for at least 4 or up to 12 hours. Crush the 5 reserved cookies and sprinkle over the pudding just before serving. Pieces. Pick up the pieces, grab a skillet, and make chicken bites, your next quick weeknight fix. If you're looking for a guaranteed quick dinner win, these recipes have it all. Cutting boneless chicken into bite-sized pieces helps it cook in less time than a full-size breast or thigh. Plus, there's more surface area for browning, spices, and sauces to cling to. Garlic Parmesan chicken bites. This recipe is fuss-free and ridiculously delicious. Each piece of chicken is coated in butter, garlic, and Parmesan. It's a simple combo, but makes this recipe once, and you'll wonder why you don't cook chicken in butter more often. 3 cups of garlic, 3 cloves of garlic. Whoa. 1 ounce Parmesan cheese, 3 sprigs of parsley, 1½ pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts, thighs, or combination, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper, 4 tablespoons of butter, unsalted, red pepper flakes for serving. Mince the garlic cloves, finely grate the Parmesan cheese in the small holes of a box grater. Cut chicken into pieces, place in a large bowl, add salt and pepper and toss to coat. Melt 3 tablespoons of the unsalted butter in a cast iron skillet. Add half of the chicken in a single layer. Cook until golden brown and the chicken easily releases from the bottom of the pan, about 4 minutes. Toss and cook until golden brown on the second side and cook through about 2 minutes. Transfer the chicken to a plate. Melt 1 teaspoon of unsalted butter in the skillet and repeat cooking the remaining chicken. Transfer to the same plate. Reduce the heat to low. Add the remaining butter, garlic, chicken, and accumulated juices on the plate to the skillet. Cook until the butter melts and the garlic is fragrant, about 1 minute. Remove the skillet from the heat. Add the Parmesan and toss to coat. Garnish with parsley. Refrigerate leftovers in an airtight container for up to 4 days. Hot honey chicken bites. Upgrade boring chicken with a hot honey glaze. The glossy glaze that coats these bite-sized pieces of chicken is so good you want to eat it with a spoon. 1½ pounds of chicken, breasts, thighs, or combination, cut into 1-inch pieces. 2 teaspoons of paprika, 1¼ teaspoons of kosher salt, 1¼ teaspoons of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1/4 of a cup of hot honey, 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, finely chopped fresh parsley for garnish, red pepper flakes for garnish. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the January 25th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Your reader has been Michelle. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the front section of the Sunday Times. At 2 o'clock, we have the New York Times Opinion section, and at 3 o'clock, we have the New York Times Arts and Leisure section. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another